Good evening. Today we have with us Captain Bajeta. He served with the prestigious 5th Regiment of the Gorkha Rifles Frontier Force, and as a short service officer, after completing his contract, he came out and started his career in the facilities management space. He has been with some of the very marquee brands like Cushman, and now for almost 5 odd years, he has been in the startup space. Started as AVP with Urban Company, which used to be known as Urban Clap, and is now the Vice President, Workplace Safety and Infrastructure. And today we have invited him to help us understand the basic landscape of facilities management as a career choice for officers after they have, when they are transitioning from uniform to the corporate. So, welcome to the talk today, Captain Vijeta.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me over.
I'll start with the first question itself. Since you mentioned COVID and now it's again back to workplace and all, would you mind sharing a major challenge which you faced in COVID and how your 4G training helped you in overcoming that challenge as to something which you feel very strongly that if it was not for your uniform training, probably you would have found or you would have not been able to accomplish that task.
COVID, like I said, was a tough time for everybody. This was a crisis nobody alive had ever experienced. So again, the challenge, the crisis created an opportunity, and equally for me. So I'll basically talk of some real instances at Urban Company. So we were 100% work from office organization. Like there was no concept of work from home pre-COVID. Once COVID started picking up, and even before the government announced the first lockdown, in one of the meetings, the board took a call. The founders took a call. Is in the next 1 week, we will move everybody to remote working. So moving 2,000 people who are used to coming to office across cities in India, and tell them that after 1 week you will not come to office. So this is like saying that we will go to war in the next 2 months, right? And this is a situation that you've never, like nobody could have imagined what COVID will do, right? But I think one of the most important 4G trait that helped me in being the flag bearer of the whole COVID task, that do not panic. I think that's what 4G coaching and training and experiences in the army teach us is whatever how bad the situation is, do not panic. Because as the head of operations or the head of administration, the one thing that your board and your leadership and your founders, they don't want to see is a guy at the helm who will panic in a situation. Because whenever there is shit hitting the ceiling, you are the first person who will come to their mind. Whenever there is a situation, whenever there's a crisis, I can believe you are the first person who's going to come to their mind. And if you are the first person who come to their mind, means you're doing a good job. Arranging laptops, getting softwares that were remote work friendly. So I'll not get into the technicalities. So it was a daunting task, but because the decision was taken, and the decision was for the good of the employees, right? Because COVID was unknown. Nobody was sure what's going to happen. And like people had started getting impacted. So it was a very, very pro-employee call. And I had no choice but to stand by it. Because if I had said it's not possible, which means that, I would have kind of, not been able to stand up to the challenge. So we converted the whole thing. I think the real crisis actually came in the second wave. I'm sure everybody who was in Delhi NCR during that time and would generally be aware, even if you're not there, the crisis that hit Delhi NCR during the second COVID wave. So this was the time where, the first COVID task force was led by two Fauji's in Urban Company, me and Captain Kamal Yadav. By the time the second COVID wave came, we were 90 people in the COVID task force. It was still led by me, but it had 90 people from the organizations Like we created such a massive team. There was a team which was searching for hospital beds. There was a team which was buying medicines. There was a team which was calling staff and family who were getting impacted. So basically, it became a warlike scenario. The second wave became a warlike scenario, and somebody had to take the lead to keep the team together. And this is where the Fauji, and this is where your Fauji skills work. Everybody can be panicking, right? There was a situation where we arranged remdesivir for an employee and we bought it in black. But the thing was, we had decided we will get him that. We got it arranged. It reached him, but unfortunately, he passed away. But the point was, everybody got very, very senti about it. But the battle wasn't won. Code was still there. Like we had to continue working. We had to continue supporting who were alive. So therefore, this was the crisis where the people who behaved like Fauji's are the people who did well. And this stood out and this shone. And believe you me, post COVID, the facility management, the admin heads have got a seat on the boardrooms. They are literally now sitting with top management because now management has realized that, guys, when life is tough, it is these guys who are going to stand up. Typical पैरेलल्स टू फौजी कि जब लड़ाई होगी फाइनली फौजी खड़ा रहेगा, जब बाढ़ आएगी, राइट्स होंगे, इट्स फाइनली गोइंग टू बी द फौजीज. सो दिस इज वेयर this entire function, the acceptance of this function as just not a cost center कि यार ये तो सिर्फ एक खर्चा है हमारे लिए. This function has now actually become enablers of business. People have accepted कि यार we cannot operate without them, and they are important they're important decision makers. Key decisions have to have their inputs. So yeah, COVID, like I said, was a time which gave me the opportunity to shine. And like we did some amazing work. Urban Company was one of the first companies in India, and I can claim that, who announced free vaccination for its staff and 50,000 partners. And that was the time when your vaccines were not even out in the market. So as much as contacting Serum Institute to coordinating with Apollo's and so many other organizations, the CEO just announced, we will give free vaccines. It doesn't matter what it costs, it doesn't matter how we get it. And I was leading this whole program. We set up camps across cities. Because offices were not allowed to operate, we booked 5-star hotels, big banquet halls, and did camps. And like within 4 months, 3 months of this launch, we vaccinated some 30,000 partners. And then after that, vaccines became easily available, and so therefore we sunsetted this whole program. But point being is, when there is a real crisis, when there is like huge unknowns कि ये कैसे होगा, so this is the time I think the Fauji's in the organizations are looked up to. That it is these guys who will figure out a way and get a solution. Like I can actually quote this anecdote that started going around Urban Company. Ki this time people started saying captain hai to mumkin hai. So basically I'm called captain in Urban Company. Nobody calls me by my name. Everybody calls me captain. They started saying yaar captain hai to mumkin hai. Kuch bhi kar lega. So which is this is again, like I said, there was a crisis, which means there was an opportunity. So you step up and just take the bull by its horn and say, I'll figure out a way.
Oh, very impressive, Captain Bajeta. I would say that, applause from my side also. On a lighter note, I should have approached you then, because getting vaccine for the first time was actually a task. And,
So let me share with you, at least I had 100 serving officers in my Delhi camp. And you will not believe, serving officers, sir. Serving officers came and got. So basically, I think I'm correct. The Forge only allowed the first dose for serving officers and not families. So a lot of serving officers didn't get the first dose. So I had serving officers and I had their families. A lot of kids who had to go abroad, of army officers. So हमने जब दिल्ली में किया था, like so many from your Shankar Vihar से लेकर धौला कुआं. And my CEO is a son of an ex naval officer. He has a big heart and a very genuine liking for Fauji's. He gave me a free hand. He said, Bajeta, tumhe jo karna hai, Captain, karo. Don't ask me. Like in Chandigarh, when we did a camp, like I had some 30, 40 families from my unit was in Dakshai. I got them in a bus and got them vaccinated. Like we, as much as offering it to Fauji's also, like we went to that extent.
Wow. So my next question, and this would be more related to, I only have two more questions to go. Let's say for those who decide to be in this space, in the facilities, workplace space, what are there any industry certifications you would recommend? And are there any industry associations where they can go find relevant connects and look for suitable opportunities?
Okay. So before I even answer that question, I would just give a disclaimer that this is purely my understanding of this particular question. It may be correct or it may be not correct for anybody, because what I'm going to say is not what people are following. Like I've been running a veteran hiring program at UC for the last 1.5 years, and the CVs that I read are like crazy. The name and the certificates ahead of the name that you read, like you get tired reading the certifications. And this also, I think, got triggered by COVID, because so many certifications became available to officers, posted anywhere in the countryside. And these certifications are fairly easy to get. So firstly, let me answer your question. I believe certifications at the time of exit are not required. And my reason and logic for that is, when you are exiting, you are not aware on what you are going to do. You're not aware on what function you're going to start working. Are you going to be an admin head? Are you going to be part of banking operations? Are you going to be in construction industry? Are you going to be in a factory?
I'm very thankful for your time and relevant and from the heart experiences which you shared. I genuinely believe that a lot of officers who are listening to us now and a lot of them who will listen to the subsequent recording of this talk will benefit. Thank you so much for your time, Captain Bajeta.